Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about Nintendo's Switch emulation with NxEmu. And NxEmu just released a progress report and they're stating that commercial games are booting. Now, I don't know about you, but I would say this is absolutely huge news for the Switch emulation scene. They say I have finally reached the significant milestone of some commercial games starting to boot in NxEmu. It is not ready for prime time yet, and it is not ready for playing your favorite Switch titles. But step by step, I'm getting closer to that point. They go on to say, with version 0.3, NxEmu now supports DXCI and DNSP file formats. These follow the same format as normal XCI and NSP files, but with all encryption removed. The headers are also updated to indicate no encryption, along with a few special magic numbers changed. On top of that, there's been some UI improvements, audio improvements, and even more. NxEmu is making improvements in leaps and bounds here, and it's very interesting to see this project overall. If you remember, a while back, NxEmu announced that they were restarting, and that was this year, just I guess a few months back, not necessarily a while back. But it is based on Yuzu, but arguably the legal version of Yuzu. I mean, they say right here in a previous blog post, with Yuzu and Ryujinx being taken down, I've been thinking more about the legal side of Switch emulation. As I understand it, emulation itself is legal, but the main issue was the DMCA 1201 and how they handled decryption. If they hadn't included decryption, they would probably still be in active development today. And they go on to say here, with this in mind, I've considered leveraging what I've learned and understood from my experience by modularizing the safe and legal components from Yuzu, such as the CPU, OS, and video. The goal is to create a proof of concept that modularizes these parts of the emulator and combines them to run a demo. And then they went on to say, and I think we covered this in a previous video, but anyways, I think this is really important to highlight. They say this project is not just another fork. While I am leveraging code from Yuzu, I am selectively integrating parts of the source code one at a time. This approach not only allows me to gain a deeper understanding of each component, but also ensures I can effectively work with it and avoid problematic elements like decryption. However, the downside of not simply forking is that I don't inherit everything automatically. I need to add each part bit by bit. This does mean a lot of functionality will be missing initially as I gradually rebuild what was available in Yuzu at the time it was discontinued. So based on that, taking a look at their most recent progress report, and I would say significant progress has been made. And they say here, as for what's next, now that commercial games are starting to boot, the next focus will be on quality of life features before digging deeper into compatibility and performance. These improvements are key to making NxEmu feel like a usable emulator for everyday usage. And planned quality of life improvements include a game browser, per game configuration options, pause, resume, and end emulation controls, full screen support, controller configuration, user profile, and FPS performance display. So let me know your thoughts about NxEmu in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts about what you think is going to happen with this emulator moving forward, and if it could be the potential future, one of the potential futures of the Switch emulation scene. Next up here, we're switching from scene to Steam. Very weird segue. Anyways, we're talking about the Steam frame, which is a brand new trademark from Valve for a brand new piece of hardware or hardware system. So for those who may be unaware, there's a lot of speculation out there right now as to what exactly this Steam frame is going to be. Valve has filed the trademark for it, there's a lot of discussion, and it seems it may be some sort of VR device, possibly the Deckard. There has been a lot of data mining going on, and sadly it's Bradley over on Twitter says, after data mining tonight's huge Steam VR beta, I can confirm that Valve is definitely rebranding Steam VR overlays to frames, which would make sense for the Steam frame trademark. Therefore, if Deckard's product name is the Steam frame, you should now understand what its major selling point is going to be: spatial gaming. So the big question here is, when are we going to hear more about this? Unfortunately, I don't have a release date. I don't have more information. We're all kind of at the mercy of Valve right now, or possibly someone at Valve leaking it. But at this point in time, we've got the trademark, we've got data mining, and it seems an announcement at some point is imminent. However, and the big however here is there's a big chance that we don't hear anything about this for some time, and maybe it never ends up coming to fruition. I would say the VR crowd over on Steam is a very small subset and compared just with the regular PC gaming crowd. Could be wrong with that one, but I don't think so. Anyways, if you're interested in this one and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below right at the bottom. Well, links are within the GitHub description below. Links are within the GitHub link in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources, and I'm probably not going to cut that. I'll just leave it in, whatever. Let me know your thoughts about the Steam frame in the comments below. Next up here, we're talking about PlayStation 3 emulation on Android with RPCSX. Now, we talked about RPCSX just the other day. And here is some progress the emulator is making. This is Grand Theft Auto 5 on a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. We can see that the frame rate is, well, it's going down to single digits in some places here. But overall progress, I would say, is pretty good. And speaking about development, next up here, we're talking about the latest development from Ayaneo, the Pocket Air Mini. Now, this thing was teased a little while back, and now we've got much more detail about it, but still don't have the fine specs yet. And the Pocket Air Mini is set to be a 4.2-inch display with a 4:3 aspect ratio at 1280 by 690. Now, unfortunately, I don't know the release date. I don't know the price. The price of this is rumored to be under $150. We'll have to wait and see on that. I don't know what chipset's powering it. I don't know how much RAM it's got or how much storage it's got. It seems it's going to be offered in a few different colorways and will emulate stuff up to the PlayStation 2. But let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below, and the emulation power and the price point, and if the device is interesting. And also what's interesting is this tagline, world's first brand new 4:3 retro display. Okay. And speaking about stuff that plays retro games, next up we're talking about playing retro games just in a different light, in a brand new way. I guess 4 classic Final Fantasy games have received the Colorized Game Boy Color DX treatment. If you are interested in this one and wanted to learn more about it, I would recommend checking out the time extension article, and they may have some interesting links within that article. Like everything we talk about, again, links are in the link in the description below. So I guess the 4 games here are Final Fantasy Legend 1, 2, and 3 DX. And Final Fantasy Adventure Color. Now, I don't know about you, but I love the original look to these games, the charm behind the coloring or lack of coloring on the Game Boy. But I also love the DX look, and I don't know which one I like more. Let me know your thoughts. And speaking about stuff on time extension, next up we're talking about something that I am very interested in and wasn't aware of until someone sent in this article. Now, I'm pretty sure that time extension was the first or one of the first people to report on this, and it's been reported elsewhere since. But if you're a fan of ZSNES or ZSNES, the developer behind that emulator is releasing a new game here called Retro Endurance 8-Bit. Now, Retro Endurance 8-Bit is a collection of a bunch of different games that's available on Steam in early access. And it's less than, well, it's in Canada here, it's less than $5, $4.99. So in the States, it's probably going to be even cheaper. This is a very interesting subset of games, and let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. I, for one, will be picking this up on Steam. And speaking about stuff on Steam, next up here, we're talking about Wolfhound. Now, this game has not released just yet. There is no early access for it or anything like that. But this is a new game headed to Steam that I think also looks extremely interesting. So if you're a fan of platforming and 2D games and shooting games, you might be a fan of this one here. It's called Wolfhound. And I, for one, will also be picking this one up once it's released, whether it's in early access or not. I mean, to me, this one looks super cool. And speaking about stuff that's super cool, next up, we're talking about the monthly Game Fan Translation recap. If you're a fan of fan translations, you might be a fan of this video series on YouTube, and the August version has just dropped. Everything in the video is timestamped. There's about 15 games overall, and some of this stuff we've talked about in previous videos, like Cowboy Bebop and Dragon Ball Z: The Legend. And there's a lot we haven't talked about. And speaking about stuff on YouTube, next up we're talking about 007 First Light. And if you're looking forward to this game, if you wanted to know more about it and wanted to see it in action, there's over 30 minutes of gameplay up on YouTube. Now, the gameplay is not perfect. I mean, the game is still in development, and the comment section seems to realize that and seems to be accepting of it. I mean, this is one of the top comments. The choppy FPS is how you know it's real gameplay and not a mind's eye situation. And take a look at this comment here. The gameplay is surprisingly so honest and transparent. It's not perfect, but that's what we like from a preview. No sugarcoating or pretending to be something that it's not. Honestly, I'm looking forward for this game. If you've seen the trailer, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below. Next up here, this is just a friendly heads up and a quick follow-up to something we talked about in yesterday's video, which was Linux Mint and the release of 22.2. When we talked about it, it was very hot off the press and Linux Mint's website hadn't even been updated yet. And now the website has been updated. So if you're looking for an easier way to get version 22.2, it's the mainline version right now for Linux Mint. Like most LTS releases, where LTS stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or long-term support, depending on how you wanted to interpret that. This one is supported for a considerable amount of time until 2029. It features Linux kernel 6.14 as well as a bunch of updates to Wayland compatibility and even fingerprint scanning. And speaking about support, next up we're talking about the Nexus mods app, which is currently in development and just received a brand new update and introduced initial support for Skyrim. So at the time of filming, version 0.16.3 is the latest update to the Nexus mods app. It is still currently in development, and if you're not interested in bugs and glitches and issues, I'd probably stay away from it altogether, but if you like testing stuff out and being on the latest and greatest in terms of being on the cutting edge, this might be up your alley. It's 100% free, it's open source, and it's on GitHub. I mean, they say right here in a warning, do not enable Skyrim SE support in the app unless you are prepared to rebuild your mod setup from scratch. This is an early developer preview only. It's not ready for normal use or testing. It's been the #1 most requested game to mod with the app, and rightfully so. So we're pleased to announce that work on support for Skyrim Special Edition has begun. The road ahead is long and winding, but we've got the foundations in place now and will be building on them in future releases. Next up, we're talking about Amazon Prime, and I guess this counts as tech. Anyways here, the Prime Invitee account sharing is ending. I'd recommend checking out the PC Mag for more details if you do use the Prime Invitee account sharing. But they say here those who have been sharing their Amazon accounts with people outside of their household for years have until October 1st to get their own Prime accounts or switch to a family plan. From my understanding here, Amazon wants everyone under one household and I guess sharing one payment method to enjoy their Prime services. To be honest with you, I'm not really surprised about this one at all. Let me know your thoughts. And speaking about stuff shutting down or terminations, next up we're talking about Pokémon Unite. And if you're a fan of Pokémon Unite and you're in the Netherlands or Belgium, you're not going to like this news. As of November 30th, these games will no longer be available in those regions. Based on my understanding, the leading speculation out there as to why it's shutting down in Belgium and the Netherlands only is because of anti-gambling laws. And I guess the view of RNG microtransactions is, well, it's maybe circumventing those anti-gambling laws, and that may be the reason why Pokémon Unite is being shut down in those regions. Now, from my understanding here, Pokémon Unite is still going to be fine in other regions. If you're a fan of the game, you may want to pay attention to it, though, and keep close tabs to it. I would say overall, if microtransactions and RNGs were a problem with a bunch of different areas, Pokemon would just redo the game to make it compliant in everywhere. I'd assume that the juice wasn't worth the squeeze in trying to make something work in Belgium and the Netherlands. And last up here, we're talking about laptops, and in the future of the laptop space, multi-screened laptops may become a regular thing. I mean, right now on Amazon, you can pick up attachments for laptops to make them multi-screened. However, it seems that built-in multi-screens may become regular. Listen to this headline here over on PC Gamer. A laptop brand I've never heard of beat Razer's Project Valerie to the market with a 3-screen laptop. So back in January of 2017, Razer unveiled the Project Valerie, which never really came to fruition. Maybe it's still in development, I've got no idea. But also right now there is a 3-screen laptop for sale, and well, the price isn't cheap. but the innovation is definitely there, and I wouldn't be surprised to see other laptop brands start to take note and maybe make something similar. For more information on the matter, I would recommend checking out the PC Gamer article. There's a ton of information in it. And let me know your thoughts about a 3-screen laptop in the comments below. Would a 3-screen laptop, if the side screens were in portrait mode, be of interest to you? Could you find a use for this? And would this sway your purchase over just a standard 1-screen laptop? Interestingly here, that resolution or that text size is massive. But anyways, that's probably just for marketing. Either way here, let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below, because I, for one, am fascinated with it, and I think this will become a normal thing. Could be wrong, maybe that's a hot take. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and the legendary one fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.